Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who want to build million-dollar businesses without sacrificing their health, relationships, or happiness, who understand that in order to build their empire, they need a solid foundation, and that the more they are thriving, the more their business is thriving too. This show brings you the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Garbutt, the scientist turned mindset and high-performance coach for entrepreneurs, and I help you get wired for success. Before we dive into today's episode, let me share something that I found super helpful lately, because I think it could be really helpful to you too. If you've ever gone through a rough patch in your life, you probably know that those are the moments in your life when your familiar systems break down and the things that used to work for you often just stop working. Now raise your hand if you've experienced a situation like this. Well, you can't see me, but I'm definitely raising my hand. So far, this year has been a real challenge for me on so many levels, mentally, emotionally, physically. And it required me to get out of my comfort zone to test new strategies to stay happy, healthy, and productive. As you probably know, there are two main things driving your overall everyday experience, and that's your physiology and your psychology. And what I've seen happening a lot is that people who are going through a stressful time, they're often focusing on only one of those two pillars and are wondering why things don't improve. Well, the thing is, it's always a two-way communication between those two systems. If you neglect one, the other will suffer too. So whether you're going through a rough patch or whether you're looking to optimize your performance and experience in general, always make sure you're working on your mind and your body simultaneously. And I don't know about you, but I'm an optimizer for sure, and I always look for simple solutions that give me the most bang for my buck. For instance, stress can deplete magnesium levels in the body, and inadequate magnesium can in turn exacerbate stress and its effects. And you simply cannot meditate your way out of a magnesium deficiency. An effective way to help you get out of that negative spiral would be to supplement with magnesium to help your body regulate the deficiency and to integrate meditation or mindfulness to help your nervous system calm down again so that it can get out of that fight or flight mode again. Make sense? Not all forms of magnesium are equal or equally bioavailable though. To make things even more tricky, different forms of magnesium are also absorbed by different tissues in your body. So you have to make sure to get the right amount of the right forms of magnesium that support your overall health goals. And you don't want any unnecessary additives, fillers, and artificial ingredients. And that's why I love BiOptimizer's Magnesium Breakthrough. BiOptimizer's Magnesium Breakthrough contains the full spectrum of all 7 forms of the most bioavailable magnesium, each with its own unique benefits, along with vitamin B6 to support mental health and promote a healthy stress response. The combination of those different forms of magnesium help you support a lot of different systems all at once. Did you know that magnesium is involved in over 300 biochemical reactions in the body? Yep, you heard that right. From energy production to muscle function, digestion, heart health, sleep, and even mood and cognitive function. Magnesium plays a crucial role in keeping us ticking. I'm taking 2 capsules in the morning and sometimes another one in the evening before bed if it's been a particularly stressful day and I need to help my body calm down and relax, and it really makes a difference. But we all have to run our own experiments to see what works best for us. So why don't you give this a try to see what it can do for you? This could be the one tiny change in your routine that improves your sleep, metabolic health, cognition, energy, and performance all simultaneously to help you be your best. If for some reason you try Magnesium Breakthrough and it just doesn't work for you, you can get a full refund, no questions asked. BiOptimizers are so confident they offer you a 365-day money-back guarantee. If you'd like to test BiOptimizers Magnesium Breakthrough risk-free, head to bioptimizers.com/Claudia and use Claudia10 at checkout for a 10% discount on your order. Again, that's bioptimizers.com/Claudia and code Claudia10 to claim your 10% discount. And if you subscribe, not only will you get more discounts and free gifts, you will make sure your monthly supply is guaranteed. Without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that help you get to that next level of success in your life and business. My guest today is Chris Pistorius, a digital marketing agency owner who has revolutionized digital marketing with his tailored, impactful strategies. With a background that includes pivotal roles at online giants like Google, AOL, Time Warner, Dex, and MapQuest, Chris brings over 20 years of digital marketing wizardry to the table. His agency, celebrated as one of the top local marketing firms, specializes in catapulting small businesses to the forefront of their local markets. Chris is not only a strategist, though, but also an educator. He traverses the country to deliver seminars that translate complex marketing concepts into actionable wisdom. Each week, he shares his insights on his popular marketing podcast, where he discusses everything from enhancing online visibility to leveraging social media for business growth. He's also the author of The Ultimate Guide to Internet Marketing for Dentists and helps dental practitioners and other entrepreneurs flourish in the digital age. Chris embodies the essence of a marketing expert who has mastered the art of connecting people, businesses, and communities. So welcome, Chris, and thank you so much for being on my show today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Looking forward to this. Now, Chris, you've been in the digital marketing game for a long time. How has digital marketing changed over the last 20 years? What were some of the most important developments and how did they impact the field?
Yeah, back in the day, the early digital marketing, it was all about banner ads. That's really all that was available is, you put a big banner ad out on a website and you hope for the best. And so in terms of advertising, that was kind of the start. So it's come full fold. I mean, now you can do contextual advertising, Google ads, social media has entered the arena. There's just so many local directories for small businesses. There's just so many ways now to market yourself online. And, it's while that's great, I guess, it's also created a gap in the market where a lot of small businesses, 20 years ago, you put an ad in the yellow pages and that was kind of your marketing strategy. Well, now it's so diverse that there's so many places that you can market online that it's causing confusion. And
right.
Small businesses don't necessarily know what to do. So that's where hopefully companies like mine come in and kind of untangle the web for them a little bit.
Yeah, it's so confusing. So many options, and it doesn't make it easier, right?
Yeah, you're right. You can spend a lot of money and not get anything out of it today if you're not careful. So
that is so true. I was wondering, do you use podcast advertising as well? Because that's one of the other big things that has started really gaining some traction over the last few years, right?
Yeah, I think that we don't do a lot of it for our clients yet, but that is something that's up and coming for sure. It's on our radar. If you can find what I think about that is, having our clients sponsor a podcast, for instance, that could be a good way to do it. Also, we've entertained the idea of trying to get our clients to do a podcast like these, because it does create and help build authority, gets their name out there. You can put the episodes on your website. It looks very impressive that the owner of your business was, interviewed on a podcast. Just makes you the authority.
That's right. It is a lot of work, though.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem we've ran into, is trying to make it a product and, make it scalable at some ways. It's just, number one, some people don't want to be on the camera or even do a podcast, right? So you got to almost talk them into that. And then it's just there's so many. So as you know, there's so many things you've got to do to actually successfully do a podcast. So
that's right. But what do you love about marketing in general? So why did you choose to work in this field to begin with?
Yeah, so in college, I was a journalism major. So I started writing and doing things, and I had to work for the school newspaper in college. Excuse me. And one semester, I had to do the advertising side of it. So I would go out to local businesses and try to get them to buy ads in the local newspaper. So that was really my start, and I loved it. I loved that aspect of it. And what I love most about it is just being able to see businesses grow, see businesses come to us and they're struggling or maybe even failing, and then we're able to turn them around and actually put them on that path to growth. I think that's really what helps me get out of bed in the morning.
So it's more about the business side than about the creative side, or how much do you love just the creative, artistic side of it?
Yeah, it's, I'm a little removed from that now because we've got a staff of 20 some people and they're way smarter than I am. So they do a lot of that everyday creative type work. I'm more of the kind of high level, high business relationship type stuff now. So that's what I really look at a little bit more. But yeah, the creative side is, it makes our clients unique. And, sometimes, we specialize in dentists. That's who we work with primarily. And, sometimes that industry can get caught up as like a dentist is just a dentist, right? They all are dentists. Well, our job is to make them unique. And that's where the creative side of things really come in.
So why did you choose to focus on internet marketing for dentists specifically?
Yeah, so when we first started, we took on pretty much anybody that would pay us. We had auto mechanics. Yeah, we had auto mechanics, lawyers, dentists, all kinds of different types of businesses. But what we found is that every time we take on a new industry, we almost have to learn that industry. And we have to understand the nuances and the, just the competitiveness of it. And sometimes by the time we did that, it was too late. We were wasting a lot of our clients' time and money just trying to figure it out ourselves, right? So we decided that we needed to become experts in something, right? And so at the time we were working with like 5 dental practices and we were doing great for them and they were easy to work with and they paid their bills, which was always good. So we just decided to go with dentists, and that was 15 years ago, and we really haven't looked back.
Yeah. Okay. Sometimes things just work out.
Yeah, right? Sometimes.
Sometimes, not always.
Right.
With AI advancing faster and faster, how do you think that artificial intelligence is going to transform the way digital marketing is done in the future?
Well, it's already transformed it somewhat, and there are agencies out there, unfortunately, that are just using it as a they type in a prompt in AI to write a piece of content for a client, and they just copy and paste it right into the client's website and into the blog. And AI isn't ready for that yet. The content isn't good enough for that. But I don't know what that future holds. Maybe it will be at some point. But where we use it and where we see it transform is just as a time-saving model. If our writers, for instance, are having a case of writer's block or whatnot, and they can't think of a good topic to write for one of our dental practices, AI is a great way to get suggestions, and you can use AI to find out things like, what people are asking, online about dental practices. And those can be great subjects to cover with writing. It helps us write our processes and procedures. There's just so many tools for it as a time-saving mechanism right now. The future of it, who knows? It's already pretty powerful for us. But we feel as though we use it responsibly and not as a replacement of a human, but more of an idea generator and make us a little bit more efficient.
Yeah, I have a feeling that it can do a lot of those tasks that nobody wants to do.
Yeah, that's true. Like we just wrote a job description with it, right?
Yes.
We had it just do a job description, and we went through and made some changes, and what would have taken us a few hours took us 30 minutes.
Oh, that's great. Now, do you think AI will have a bigger impact on smaller businesses or on bigger businesses, or do you think the size of the company really doesn't matter?
I don't think it'll matter that much. But what I do see for small businesses is that it's kind of very similar as when digital marketing started hitting it big, is that small businesses knew they needed to be online. They knew they needed to have a website, and they knew they needed to be involved, but they don't have the expertise necessarily to know how to do it, right? Well, AI is out there, and we're not quite to that point yet, but small businesses recognize what AI is, and they're starting to learn about it, and they're trying to figure out ways to maybe use it. But there's still that knowledge gap of, do they really want to try to learn how to use AI every day, or do they want to run their business and have another company like maybe us, an agency, come in and help them incorporate AI into their business? So I think it's another opportunity for agencies like mine that do marketing and things like that to probably encompass AI and help them specifically with small businesses.
Yeah, that's a good point. I know you mentioned that you're not replacing anyone with AI yet, but are you worried that at some point in the future, AI might just take over your job?
No, like we were just talking about, there's always going to be that gap of, most small business owners, they start a business because they're good at something, right? So maybe it's baking, or maybe it's working on cars, right? That's why they start a business. The problem, though, is that they're not necessarily good on the other aspects of the business, like HR, marketing, technology. That's where they typically outsource things. And the people that don't realize to do that, unfortunately, is one of the reasons why small businesses go out of business, is because they are good at welding or, whatever it may be, but they're not good at running a business. And that's where the business fails.
Right. Now, when you compare your time at big players like Google to what you're doing right now, helping small businesses, how do the marketing strategies and tactics differ?
Well, I think at a core, they're very similar. It's just the scope of, who you're trying to market to. I'm a big believer in making sure that if you have to know your numbers as a business, and you have to know who it is that you want to sell to, and you have to understand, we call them customer avatars, if you will. So we really try to identify the types of clients that they want to come in, and then we work backwards from there. And I think whether you're a big national company or a small business, you do that. It's just the amount of scale, that you have to put in for it. Like a small business, like a dental practice, we usually only have to market about a 5 to 10 mile radius from the actual practice itself. Whereas if you're a big national dentist and you have, a chain dentist, and you have locations all over the country, obviously it's a much bigger scope, and you've got to do that across the country. So I think the basics of digital marketing are the same, whether it's local or national. It's just really the size of the landscape.
Okay, so what are the best digital marketing tips for small businesses specifically? What's the, say, one underrated marketing secret that most small businesses don't know about?
I think that I hear a lot of people have tried like Facebook marketing, for instance. They try to buy ads on Facebook, Instagram, and they're like, it just doesn't work. Okay. Well, the reason that a lot of the times anyway that we see it doesn't work is because people try to sell on Facebook and Instagram in their ads. People are probably thinking, well, yeah, that's why we're doing advertising. Well, that's not quite how it works, because if you think about it, let's take Google as an example. Google, you basically bid on keywords for Google ads. You bid on keywords like dentist near me, or how much are dental implants, right? These people are very qualified buyers. They kind of have their credit card in hand and they're ready to buy, right? So you can sell to those people because they're in that mode. But with Facebook, it's a completely different audience. You can't target based on keywords. You can only target based on demographics. Like maybe your target is a 25 to 34-year-old female with 2.5 kids and a golden retriever, right? Well, that's how you can target in Facebook. But the problem is that you don't know if they actually need a dentist right then or not. So they're not ready to buy all the time. So you have to do a different type of advertising. You have to introduce yourself a little bit. Like say, hi, I'm Chris. I'm your local mechanic here in Toronto. And I have a family of 4. And you just introduce them to the market for about the first 2 to 4 weeks so that people start seeing them and realizing who they are. And then you build that relationship with them on Facebook. And then you can get to the point where you actually can sell something. Right. So it's, I think a lot of people miss that and they just think, all right, well, I'm going to do a $29 special on Facebook day one. And here we go. Well, another analogy I have is that it's like when you first meet your significant other, if you go on the first date, you don't ask them to marry you immediately. Right. You have to build that relationship and then you get to that point. Kind of the same thing with Facebook advertising.
So do people like dentists need to have a social media account, say on Facebook, where they post content all the time before they run ads? Or can they just buy ads?
Yeah, you need to do both. You really do. But I would not outsource organic social media posting. I would have somebody from the office doing that if at all possible, because the people that you outsource it to aren't going to be in your office every day. They don't know funny stories that happen or, people that come in a costume on Halloween. Right. they can only post like very general content, general type content. So have somebody in your office do that type of posting, and use an agency to actually run the ads for you, because they can take a lot of the content that you've already posted and repurpose it into advertising as well.
And how often should small businesses post on social media, and how many channels should they pick? Because there are a lot of channels out there, and it can be a full-time job, right?
Sure. We're kind of in that 3 day a week or 3 posts a week phase right now. But the problem is that social media has become almost a pay to play game. Like, let's say that for instance, you have 1,000 followers on Facebook, right? And then you post a piece of content. There's probably only about 250 of those followers that are going to see that content, because just the way the algorithm works. Okay. Now, if you pay, you'll probably get all that content to all 1,000 of your followers, plus people that aren't your followers, right? So their algorithms are set up to, we'll show that content to some people, but not everybody. So a lot of people think if they post content, it's going to go to all their followers, and every one of their followers are going to see it. And it's just not the case. So you've got to pay a little bit in terms of advertising to do that. So, but the thing about Facebook and Instagram is you don't have to pay a lot. I mean, it's not, you can boost a post for like $5 or $10 and get a pretty good local spectrum from that. So that's it's just something for somebody to know, is that just because you post it doesn't mean people are going to see it.
Yeah, we wish.
Yeah, right.
So for small businesses, is Facebook or Instagram, what's your favorite channel for paid ads, to run paid ads on?
We like both. Usually when you do Facebook advertising, you'll get LinkedIn. You'll get Instagram as well. We like to go that avenue, but we like Google ads as well. And then there's a product on Google for some industries, not all. It's called Google Local Service Ads. And those are where you actually get verified by Google. You have to send in your business license, your insurance, and they verify that you're a legit business, basically. And it puts you in a separate category of like Google verified businesses at the top. The other big difference there is that a regular Google ad, not the local service ads, the regular ads, you pay every time somebody clicks on your ad, right? Well, with local service ads, you only pay when you get an actual lead. So if somebody actually picks up the phone and calls your business, that's when you pay for the actual ad. So it's a much different platform too. But in a perfect world, if budget isn't an issue, we like to run both of those. Just because it's 2 different sets of eyeballs sometimes, and just 2 different demographics.
So what would a typical marketing budget look like for a small business that you work with? I
always say 7 to 10% of your gross annual income. And if you're a brand new business, probably more than that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, now, that comes from the Small Business Association as well. So, I've heard 5%, I've heard 7%, and probably the highest is 10%.
Okay, that's a good point to start.
Yeah.
Now, what's one marketing myth out there that really drives you crazy because it gets repeated everywhere, but it's just not true?
That you don't need to market. That's the biggest problem. So in our industry, like for instance, dental, we've got a lot of kind of old guard dentists that are, getting to the point of retirement, and they've seen their new patient numbers really drop recently. And the reason is because there's more competition. There's corporate competition. And this holds true for almost any small business. So the old way of doing things, you think, hey, it's working, why break it? Well, all of a sudden things start changing. You're not getting as many new customers. A lot of that is because digital marketing is starting to kick in, and you haven't done anything yet. You haven't done any type of marketing, and you just thought that would hold true for, years to come. And so they're resistant to, start doing that because they've never had to do it before, but they see their business is starting to slow down. So they they don't understand it sometimes because, again, they go into business to be a dentist or a mechanic, and they don't really know marketing, which I don't blame them. But the problem is they don't know what to do. And so sometimes they do what's called ostrich marketing, whereas they kind of put their head in the sand and they don't do anything.
Yeah.
I think that's the scariest thing, and that's the biggest mistake as a small business.
I totally relate to that.
Yeah.
Now, Tell me more about the importance of connecting people, businesses, and communities, and what you've learned about doing this effectively.
Sorry, you cut out just a little bit in the beginning. What was that again?
Oh, sorry. Can you tell me about the importance of connecting people, businesses, and communities, and what you've learned about doing this effectively?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And that's another avenue of marketing that we help with, actually, is community type reach out and sponsorship marketing, we call it. So I think it's incredibly important to be, as a dentist or any type of small business, to be involved in your community and then show that involvement on your website and wherever your social media. So for instance, what we do with dental practices is that one of our aspects is that we'll go out in the local community for them, and we'll call nonprofits, high school baseball teams, basketball teams, any events going on, charities, stuff like that. And we try to negotiate sponsorships with these people. So we might do like a $200, $500 sponsorship, but we get our client's name on their website, maybe on a Little League t-shirt as a sponsor, maybe a banner in a gym. And then we leverage that on our client's website saying, hey, we're in the community, we're supporting the community, and here's how we do it. And we list those sponsors, and there's a lot of good stuff comes out of that. Sometimes it's hard to measure that. Like, all right, if I spent $250 for a Little League team, what do I get out of that specifically? Sometimes it's hard to track that, but I can promise you're getting more than you paid out of it. So that would be an example of how I see community and tying our clients into that, and what we try to do and take action on for our clients' behalf.
Oh, I love that. That's creating those win-win situations for everyone.
Yep.
This is awesome. Yep. Now, I know that marketing can be like super stressful because you always have to keep up with all the ever-changing algorithms. And as soon as you found a working strategy, everyone starts using it and it loses its magic quickly. And for marketing to work, you always have to find something new to stand out, right? So it's kind of easy to really get sucked into work so much that you kind of forget to take care of yourself. So how are you personally making sure you're staying happy, healthy, and productive?
I think you've got to hire a team, and you can't be afraid to hire like I was. You know, for a long time, it was just like me and two other people, and I basically had to do everything. And that caused a lot of stress at home. I couldn't go on vacation because if I left, that means the business shut down because I had to do everything, right? Mm-hmm. So I learned that, you know, you've got to actually create a business, not just a job for yourself. And so when you create a business, you actually hire team members to do some of this work for you. And I was always very hesitant to give up control, I guess, because in my mind, my warped mind, I was like, nobody can do it as good as me. Well, that's not true. They can not only do it as good as me, they can do it better a lot of the time. So when I hired a team is when I really believed that I developed a business and something that, you know, I don't have to work in every day. I can just kind of work on the business and be kind of at a higher level so that I can walk away and go on vacation with my family and not have to worry about the stresses of the business because I have a team. And that helps, you know, home life. It helps, you know, ease stresses. It keeps you healthier mentally and physically. So I would suggest, you know, really build a team. And how I did that was I basically made a list of everything I hated to do in my business. So the first thing was customer service. I hated taking care of clients after we signed them up. Mm-hmm. I'm just not good at it. I'm not a good follow-through person. So it's a big skill you need to have for that. And that was first on my list. So the first person I hired in my company was a what we call client success manager, a customer service person to help take care of clients. And another one is I hated to do accounting. So that was the next hire. And I just kind of went on from there.
Yeah, that's a great strategy for sure. Yeah, I always see that when people take care of their own health, and I mean that on a physical, mental, and emotional basis, like on all the levels, then their business also starts to flourish. Because as long as you're not well, your business is usually not well either, right?
Yep, that's true.
Chris, is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners today?
Oh, there's a lot. I'd like to actually leave you with a piece of reading that kind of helped me through a lot of this. And it was a book called E-Myth Revisited. I guess Michael Gerber is the author, but it really teaches you how to get out of that funk of, you know, of creating a job for yourself and actually creating a business. And it puts it in very simplistic terms, and it's an easy read. And I really suggest anybody that might be struggling with that, take a look at that book. Again, it's called E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber.
Oh, great tip. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, sure.
Now, where can our listeners find you online if they would like to learn more about you or connect with you or work with you?
Yeah, just go to my website. It's kickstartdental.com. There's a free strategy session button on the site. I do all of the initial strategy sessions with our clients. But if you're not a dentist, don't worry. Go ahead and hit me up on that. I'll give you some free advice anytime about your particular business or industry. I have no problem with that at all.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Chris,
Sure.
Thank you again for talking today and for sharing all those tips and insights with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Take care and talk to you soon. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. That's a fantastic, easy, and zero-cost way to help the show grow. Just use the link in the show notes and make my day. Want more? For quick, actionable tips and insights to guided meditations and a side of biohacking, join my inner circle and get access to exclusive subscriber-only content. Again, just use the link in the show notes to join the tribe. Thank you for your support and see you on the other side. Take care and talk soon. Bye.